Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Trenton Ray, CEO and founder of Hangar Direct, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to own and operate a business. Welcome, Trenton. So great to meet you. Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, well, very excited to dive into all things business. But before we do that, take me back as far as you'd like, share a bit about yourself and a bit about Hangar Direct.
So Hangar Direct, think of us like Airbnb for hangars. That's our flagship. I got into this mess. I'm a pilot. That's my day job. I manage a couple planes for a few people, wealthy people, right? We're talking like jets, and even in the aircraft ownership world, the one of the hardest things to do is find a hangar, right? And so. Um, we're essentially just two guys running a software project that really started when I requested hangar space at a place in Minnesota. And when I landed, they were like, "Yeah, you got to go somewhere else." And there was a storm coming in, so I called my buddy who's in software. I'm like, "Yo, Airbnb for hangars, like, it is so hard to get a hangar. Like, why?" And so that's where it began. It began with finding out, there I was, right? And so. It's been a really interesting and I don't know. It's been a project, I'll say. But no, we're just launched a software SaaS product, and it's funny, like it just happened on Friday, so this is really good timing, just getting the word out, what we're trying to do for the community and how we're gonna like package it all together.
Oh, I'm excited to dive in and congrats on the launch. So, before we get into business on a deeper level, I would love to hear about like your day to day. What does a typical week look like for you?
So my day to day is I hop on, an AI agent at about 7 a.m. and I say, give me 10 of the hottest leads that I should reach out to. That's literally what I do like 7:30 a.m. every single day. Shout out to Tanner, my business partner, who worked out this whole like Claude code thing where it just pulls, information from LinkedIn or social media. It's like, hey, this guy posted about an airport, you should hit him up. So then we do always like I had one at 9 o'clock and I was like, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go. We have a team meeting with our devs just because we have had so much stuff going on with development work and stuff. And which it's funny, like I don't want to get too much into it, but I am so ignorant in this space. Like I always joke, I'm just a dumb pilot. Like I'll get you to your destination, but I have no like code to me is just it's nuts. So that's just been like drinking from the fire hose. Shout out to all the devs that just are able to like do that and crunch data and turn a website into a software or an app. But yeah, it's just I sit on the phone like if you got onto my iPhone and looked at like screen time, you'd probably vomit because it's probably like 9 hours, right? And so it's just like running multiple platforms, computers, like I've got a day job going on at the same time, and everybody's like, "Why can't I get a hold of you?" It's like, well, because I'm talking to Kay. And they're like, "Who's Kay?" Like I need help. But yeah, it's 24/7 almost. I mean, I especially when you work with devs that are overseas, and 3 a.m. for you is 11 a.m. to them, and they're like, "Hey, we need a credit card, but something's going on." So. That's the day to day. And I'm sure as soon as I hop off here, Tanner, my partner, will have like a laundry list of things that I gotta do for him.
Oh my gosh, your phone is like mine. I feel you there. Okay,
And it's not
so
social media. It's like
it's work.
texting and it sucks. Like I'm not on TikTok, right?
Same, same. It's all I know. It's the voice notes, it's the texting, it's communication with probably 100 people a day. I get it. The business owner
Yeah.
life. So, okay. So now, especially as you got on to with the SaaS stuff, when you look at when you're spending time in the business or on the business, like what do you have a split on how much time you're spending in versus on, or is it kind of varied at this point?
It's like you just hold your arms out and you just take whatever as it comes. And so a lot of it, there's days where we have these internal audits where, that's all we do. Our sole focus is like looking over our databases versus some days, I'm in my car driving around meeting people. Had a few meetings with people yesterday that have been long-term hangar tenants or hangar owners with us. Just, coaching them through this like transition that we have into the software that I'll talk about later. But a lot of it, I mean, there is a lot of hands-on and driving around and, like I got to drive like 2 hours next week to go visit with another gentleman who owns an air park southwest of San Antonio, just trying to get those guys on board. So I don't know. It's probably split 50-50. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's two of us, right? As far as, being here domestically.
Okay, incredible. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, this is a fun question. If I were to give you 10 hours back in your day, where would those hours go? Would they go business, personal, a split?
I would definitely say personal. I feel like both me and like I'm trying to take a vacation. I can't even tell you the last time we took a vacation. Just, I mean, for the last 14 months, we have crunched this thing out. So I would definitely say my personal time. I have a 7-month-old now, and I remember leading up to it, I was like, I'm never gonna remember like what this feels like. And a lot of my wife being pregnant was sitting here in the same office where I'm at, talking to you and just working on punching something out that, in our opinion is we're trying to create, like changing money for ourselves. And so, I look past all the times that didn't go to, the bars, hang out with buddies or, go to that concert and that sticks with me a little bit, but it's just all of us, me and Tanner have the same kind of like mindset there, and it's just like, hey, this will pay, it'll pay off. This will all, make sense. We'll put some cash in our pockets. We did something good for the community. Like we helped the aviation industry as a whole accomplish something that, has been needing to be done for like the last 20 years.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be worth it. That it always is in the end if you stick with it, and that's awesome that you have a family that is supporting you in this too, like with your wife. That's super cool. So, what part of the if you like could offload something, any aspect of the business, what do you wish you weren't doing right now?
Sales outreach. Like, and we go deeper, cold calling. When
Mm.
I hear those two words, I want to scream. And a lot of it's like my partner, he sends me these lists. Yo, can you cold call? That was the very, very beginning. I mean, I would sit here with a phone and sometimes a beer, and as you get more no's, you get more beers, and then you get a pipeline, right? I don't know. For me, like I didn't have a huge sales background. I went to school, played baseball, became a pilot. The sales for me is just flying a plane, right? So getting used to the no's and understanding like, sales pitch, what's your call, like if you're gonna talk to somebody in 30 seconds, how are you gonna get the point across in five? And so it's stuff like that. I mean, I give all those sales like people that just cold call for a living credit because it's nuts. But I don't know, it's very like a valuable technique that not a lot of people have. And it can take, like, I've got a guy that could sell water to a horse, right? Me, maybe not so much. The one thing I am able to provide though is just like the aviation uh, expertise behind it. But it is a very rewarding thing when it goes well. If I could never cold call somebody ever again, I'd be totally happy.
That is honest and very, a golden nugget of this conversation for real, because that's where a lot of business owners like all of a sudden there's so many hats that we're wearing, and it's
Mhm.
like sales is one of them, and it's like you said, your background was aviation, your background was, baseball. So
Yeah, not tech.
contact. I have the opportunity to sit down with business owners, of course, at every stage, brand new startups all the way through, 10-year veterans. So for this audience, give me a little context around like the ownership structure. You mentioned a business partner, and is there any other partners or like a board of directors or anything like that involved?
So we have a third, called junior partner. He, I used to fly a plane for a local private equity firm here in Austin, and there was this CFO there, and they sold the plane. That's how I, don't work there anymore. But the CFO there, I just kind of dropped it on him. I was like, hey, so I'm doing this thing kind of like Airbnb for hangars. And he was like, I'm interested. And so he's a CPA at heart. A lot of what he does, especially like the Airbnb for hangar stuff, like it can get so complicated with, because like we technically, just like Airbnb, take a commission with that model. And then you have tax, and tax is different locally. It's different, different districts, cities, like it's nuts, especially even if you have, like we run everything on Stripe. We like to say, hey, we're powered by Stripe, and even with their tools, it's kind of nauseating. So having a full-blown CPA as a third partner has been uh pretty really good for us, I guess. Because like, what's the point in being a successful startup if your books are trash?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's honest. That is very honest. And that's a great person to have in your corner. So there's the three of you that you have the two
That's it.
co-founders.
Yeah, no, we are fully bootstrapped. We're not backed by any kind of like private equity or venture capitalists, you know,
Okay.
money, which for us is really nice because it's the VC, especially in aviation, it's not doable. It's not like aviation is not a fly by night company, and you get backed by money that's ignorant in the industry, and it's just like death by cash kind of thing. So that it also allows us to work with everybody a little bit harder, or in depth, just like, hey, what are your issues, right? We're not trying to sit here and just like sling you a software and just say, all right, peace. It's like, okay, if does everything look good? If there's one thing that would, benefit your operation, like what would it be? We could build it out for you. And so that has just been super fulfilling for us because like we're not pressed. We just, we're able to spend the time that we need to. And the beauty of all this is like we converted over to B2B sales. I mean, we went from a consumer marketplace, which we still have the marketplace, hangardirect.com. Uh,
Hmm.
a lot of people use us for lead generation. But we moved into software, which is basically like tenant management, compliance. Like you run an apartment complex, you got to make sure everybody's stuff's up to date, their insurance, right, their payments. And so like we just give them this, platform to process all that information. We make our money there, and then the community actually gets to use a large chunk of that same system of software for free. And so like that's how we're saying like, hey, we're going to take care of the big guys, and then the community, if you need to go sling a lease here or track your buddy's insurance that's in your hangar, like you can do it for free.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. That model is nice because then you're giving into the community aspect, but you still like are working the paid opportunities too. So I have a question for you regarding like you and your team. What does the dynamic look like when you want to take a move on something? This is like a great time to talk about the SaaS because that's something you made a big move on. So tell me like a little bit of that.
So probably 2 years into, like, we launched in 22. So 2 years into Hangar Direct, I kind of had a light bulb moment talking. It was like in a conversation with the airport director, the FBO manager, um, and they were showing me all their spreadsheets, how they were tracking like 200 plus tenants. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like you're using a Google Sheet to track millions of dollars of, other people's crap, right? So talking to Tanner about it, we just did another deep dive, and we went and we just the same way we went out to the public and we were like, hey, what do you think about Airbnb for hangars, nightly hangar space? I just through, me being a pilot, got with, 10 or 20 of the closest people I could get to that run airports or FBOs. I'm like, so how are you managing this? And every single time they're like, oh, we got this Excel spreadsheet. And we're like, dude, that's insane. So me and Tanner, what we did was we all got together and talked about this, and there was one final like step before we like went full send, and we went to a conference in New Orleans with zero product. We spent like 4 grand on banners and on like the booth and all this crap, zero product. We were going and saying we had a product. We had some like illustrations that we had, made up the night before. And it was so well received. And we were asked so many questions, and they're like, when can you deploy this? Like, we need this now. We left that conference just kind of like high fives, and we are like, all right, that's it. That's what we're doing. And so that right there was probably the most nauseating thing I've ever done because zero product, like we're just going out there and kind of fibbing, pulling stuff out of our rear, just like, yeah, this is how you manage your tenants. You can cut a lease. Oh, there's a wait list. Yeah, there's a wait list. And so that's ultimately how we, 14 months later launched our software.
Wow. It was kind of like literally like pun intended, building the plane as you go.
So like we were on our way to New Orleans and I was like, this is either going to be the best thing we ever do or like the worst thing we ever do. And to this day, like we went to that same conference uh a month ago and unveiled, basically said, hey, here it is. Like you guys wanted this 12, 13 months ago. There you go.
It's wild. Sometimes it's like those risks, those like where you kind of jump, you take the big leap without knowing what's going to happen. Sometimes those are the most rewarding opportunities because you're like you're on your toes thinking. You're like, okay, how are we going to make this work? So that actually leads perfectly into my next question, which is what is the thing that if someone like handed you a solution for tomorrow that would change the most about how you're running your business now?
If somebody were to change something tomorrow, that's a good question. Um, I would probably that's it's such a broad question because we're talking about an industry that is like 25 years behind everything else, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking like engines that still use magnetos, which, that's like 1950s technology and, it's like we use that technology because it's redundant, it's better than what we have now. Like I would just giving the whole market like a refresh. Just us coming out and doing this Airbnb for hangars, the response that we got was, "Oh, I had that idea before," or "Nobody's done that." And you can pick literally a variable anywhere out of aviation, and you can find something that could be fixed, whether it's like scheduling or any kind of software, right? The aircraft scheduling, for instance, there's so many family calendars out there. Like you can get on the App Store and look up family calendar, and there's like 200 to look at. Aircraft scheduling calendar, like there's one or two, or people like throw out their homegrown stuff, and somehow the OG still works, but it sucks, and like so I don't know. I would just this is more so to like tell people out there like aviation is one of those just under delivered and I don't know, there's just been so much oversight on tech and it's almost like people are just afraid because they see planes, they see technology, they think, okay, this is, you know, really like first world stuff. And then you look into the bones of it and you see just everything is delayed, like supply chain issues, like everybody hears about the supply chain issues at the airlines, like the same thing is for just the general aviation people, right? And these are people that just own a tiny plane and have no place to park it, right? So, our goal was like, hey, if you have a space in your hangar and you think you can wedge a plane in there, and you want to, get like 200 bucks a month in beer money, like there you go for it, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And now how has that slow, like on the industry side, that kind of slow progress of like getting up to speed, how has that impacted your what you're building? Has it been positive or negative, or has there been mixed?
It's definitely been a mix. I will say like this huge going B2B and giving like the consumers like more a free at will access to the same thing is a lot of it's because like the aviation consumer marketplace is super tough. They like fly by night companies do not exist. It's funny because we'll go to a convention, they'll be like, "Oh, you're still here. Like you haven't crumbled yet." And we're like, "Nope, still here, man." Um, so it's just, and it's not, I will say like people in aviation, if there's any honor code left in society, I feel like pilots still hold a good chunk of that. There's when you land somewhere, there's like the lockbox and it's like, hey, it's a $45 landing fee, and they expect you to like Venmo it or, put money in an envelope, and people do, right? I mean, it just it revolves around honesty, and a lot of that honesty can be tough to swallow, I guess. And so, yeah, I to try to answer your question, it's just a tough. I see why people don't want to like deploy a new idea, and
Yeah.
to us, it's like, hey, okay, here's what we learned after you get to 2 years in one day. Everybody's like, oh, it's Hangar Direct, or it's X company, and that's been tough, especially with a lot of, I don't know, like seniority differences. I say seniority, like senior. I mean, you've got the boomer mindset, and then you've got a lot of younger people that are coming in here, and the
Yep.
younger people are trying to deploy or explain something that would truly benefit, that airport or that operation. But like the general manager who's 74 is like, no, it's like I do everything on a whiteboard, which, one guy that we talked to, he had a row of sticky notes, and that was like his wait list, and it was under his drawer in his desk, and we're like, cool, all right. So yeah, a lot of that. And that's like the tough thing with software is you have to create the most useful tool that's so easy to operate, because a lot in aviation, I don't know how, a lot of these people are just like technically loose, I'll say is a nice word, just not there, like not,
Mm.
watching my dad operate an iPhone, for example, let alone like, hey, this is how you get into Hangar Direct software, and this is how you cut a lease. And so that's been just like, you have to make it so, you have to dumb it down so much just for the older generation that, didn't grow up with computers. Like I'm a millennial, right? Computers was like kind of engraved in our life. So that's probably the hardest part there.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and that especially that industry. So let's kind of look at what you want to build. What is your plan for growth here? Like, where do you see the business going in the next 3 to 5 years?
So hopefully an acquisition, 3 to 5 years would put us at around 8 to 9 years of operation. Our goal is in our main goal has to never compete, right? We've never, and we don't really have any competitors. I saw one the other day, some guy was spooling something up, like, good luck, congratulations, consumer marketplace is really tough. But we have wanted to just create something that can literally plug in anywhere. And it's a tool, it's everything hangars, right? Like we are the one place for hangar space. Tanner, my buddy, my software engineer guy, he's like, we're the source of truth for hangars, right? That's what he always likes to say. So
I like that.
being able to plug into those big, businesses like ForeFlight, like they have some a similar interest in wanting to provide transient space, especially to the jet market, where we're talking about a G4 that's going to Chicago, it's going to snow, and they need to throw the hangar, right? Like putting hangars, just making space and access to space more visible. That is our entire goal. So the more visibility we give to it, the more people build hangars. That's been one of our big things. And we found out recently that we're just working with people developing these, big nested hangar communities, and we're pre-leasing their stuff and getting all their contracts. And, like we are a document management, company or that's what our software is designed to do. So, I still don't know like where that would be. Who knows? I think our flagship is Airbnb for hangars. It's totally a doable. It can totally scale. I don't think we're going to be the ones to scale it. I think a big company like say Boeing or, can truly implement it and turn it into like a full-blown solution. I can guarantee you that three dudes, in Austin are going to have a difficult time putting, you know, hangers on everybody's devices. But like we've just call it me and Tanner, us two, we've done to this day like I think we have 260 hangers that, yeah, anything that's available for rent, or we have a lot of we got into real estate, weirdly enough. Like a lot of these realtors use our platforms, and it was
Yeah.
free for a long time. I apologize, guys. You guys have to pay for the leads now. But people like these realtors are pumping out these leads with, these for sale communities or whatever, and we were never able to capture any of that. So part of the software is because it's like a full-blown CRM dashboard. Like they'll see the lead, the phone numbers will be blocked out, and we're like, hey, you got to pay $5 to message this guy.
I love it. Like that's kind of a nice little Easter egg or like a little
I
nugget.
mean, my wife's a realtor. She works at Cooper Sotheby's here in Austin, and the amount of money that, like, I know that realtors pay for leads. Like our goal isn't to make something super expensive. It's just to make something that's just so inaccessible more accessible to the general public. But yeah, some of these realtors are slinging, $2, $3 million properties, and we're like, okay, like maybe we charge them like $5.
Yeah, you could do a great subscription thing there or some sort of, yeah, that's cool. Awesome. So now when you think about getting there to your goals, what does that personally unlock for you?
Say that again.
When you think about reaching your goals, what does that unlock for you personally? Like when you get to that, like thinking about reaching your goals, how do you feel?
Um, I'll take it from the guys I used to work for at that pea shop who are in their mid 60s and are just still out there killing it and crushing it. I would say probably what's the next thing? I don't know. I do have some ideas. It's like, I guess to answer your question, that just means, okay, what's the next goal? Like what are we doing now? Because it is going to be a weird transition whenever that day comes when, we don't own Hangar Direct anymore. And like, I don't know, I'll have, I guess, 8 hours a day of my time back. Um, I mean, I was sitting there looking at my schedule right before we hopped on here, and I have three demos to do, till like 4 o'clock, and each one of those runs, an hour and a half. So I think just staying in motion, man. I think just for like mental health and not sitting down and being a squash, just like, all right, maybe I get into like lawn marketplaces or like I doing something else, fulfilling. This has been a super fulfilling adventure. I've learned a lot. I feel like I've gone back to college and now I'm like kind of a computer science nerd. But no, I don't know.
Okay, so when you look at the gap between where are right now and your 5-year picture, like your goals, what is the biggest obstacle between now and that goal?
Probably just staying on top of AI. And if it weren't for Tanner, I wouldn't be able to do it. But AI is like really changing the landscape of a lot of things. And I say that like our development team actually isn't as big as it used to be. It's, since we got spun up with some of these LLMs. So I would say just navigating that. And I really hope that like the federal government just doesn't come in and just take all LLMs away, because they've been like, as far as development, it's insane how that has carried us along quicker. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, I would say probably just navigating those hurdles, and I think they are going to get a little bit more strict and weird, and with that is going to come competition, and so I think to spool up something like we did, it takes you generously like a year. I think with AI, it could take you more like 6 months, and so probably fighting off some competition before we finally salute this. And it's out there. Like for a long time, people are like, "So who's your competitor?" We're like, "We don't have any." And I used to go to bed every night. I'm like, it's coming. You know, there's gonna be a lift, right? Uber started, Lyft came around out of nowhere. Um, so same thing for that. But like at the end of the day, competition is healthy. Every industry needs to have it. And it's kind of how you create better products. But it scares me.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I want to ask you one more question here, and then we'll get into like towards the end of the pod. But the one question I want to ask is, if I gave you a little bit of magic dust to sprinkle on one aspect of your business that you want to change for the better overnight, what would it be that you'd sprinkle the magic dust on?
Uh, can we go back in time?
Yeah, it's
I
your
went to
magic.
Google it like 6 months ago, and we would have deployed an app by now. But like we just with all we were that's like the biggest question we get, and it's so dumb because we've moved away from like there's an app for everything now, and it kind of pisses everybody off. Like if you have an app on your phone, and then like for instance, the Barclays banking app, like if that app goes down and you have to get it on the internet on your phone, like you're screwed. It sucks. Like the UI is terrible, and that's like for a lot of platforms out there. And so Tanner's goal was like, hey, this can be viewable on every single browser. It works great on, your phone or your computer or anywhere. And then we did the software, and we could never really get an API out. We could never, the biggest question we got was, well, it's not on the app store. We're like, okay, like it won't be up there for a little while. So I don't know. Like it was just a very annoying question. You can only explain so much to these people, and probably just sprinkling on that, just getting it out there quicker because it's crazy. I mean, that once you put an app on the app store, like the traction you get is insane. And it's like, okay, do we want to build this like traction pipeline when we're not even done and then like completely screw all this up? And yeah, then you just bite your lip and keep going.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Before we get into our final question of the day, I would love to help you grow the awareness of your business. So, how can people connect with you and your company online?
We're all over social media, Instagram, Facebook. I took a hiatus from LinkedIn just because like LinkedIn drives me nuts sometimes, but I do pull like a lot of, I told you like 7:30 every morning. I try to find, hey, what are my 10 cold calls of the day, right? So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm trying to put some more stuff out there. We used to do news articles in the past. And now that we're done with the heat of development, we're gonna start pushing some more of those out. So yeah, maybe I'd love to talk if you have questions. Like people hit me up all the time with like, hey, I'm interested in getting into this like hangar leasing business. We'll love, I give pointers all the time. It's kind of a convoluted world.
Yes, very much. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, for the final question of the day, Trenton, what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh man. Um, what is most inspiring to me today? Ah, it's a tough question because I never get to think about what is most inspiring to me today. Ah, dude, I don't know. Um, what is inspiring to me today is all the people that have gone out there and have successfully cut a consumer product and they just print cash. I mean, I give those people all the credit in the world to like consumer products are tough. You got to deal with everybody's opinions and stuff. It's the fan, and you got to be able to know what to do. And so, truly, like when I see success out there and people did something, quick and made a lot of money, especially in the software space, like congrats, because that's huge.
Massive. That's so true. Well, Trenton, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your business story with me today.
No, thank you. That was fun. I appreciate it.